It may be a moral one, or it may be both moral and physical, but it must be a struggle. Power concedes nothing without a demand. It never did, and it never will. Find out what people will submit to, and you have found out the exact amount of injustice which will be imposed upon them. The limits of tyrants are prescribed by the endurance of those whom they oppress.
Please join me in the spirit of prayer and meditation. Our hearts this morning are with all of those who are or who feel themselves oppressed. May we have hearts and eyes for beauty and for justice. May we not turn away from those near and those far who struggle day by day against the small injustices of unkindness from others, of illnesses that they did not bring on, of hardships of all kinds, economic and political, and for the great injustices of war and political oppression. May we take this moment of silent meditation to hold in compassionate embrace ourselves and others.
I am the poet of slaves and of the masters of slaves. I go with the slaves of the earth equally with the masters, and I will stand between the masters and the slaves, entering into both, so that both shall understand me alike. I am a curse sharper than serpent's eyes or wind of the ice fields. O topple down, curse, topple more heavy than death. I am lurid with rage.
It was an early poem by Walt Whitman, who, when I was working at All Souls Unitarian Church in the city, they had recently found that he had signed their membership book. So we rightfully claim Walt Whitman as one of our own. At this point, we take the offering for the continuing work of this congregation. At this time, as you know, if you come regularly, you are more than welcome and encouraged, in fact, to light a candle for any reason and to write out any kind of prayer request or a joy or a sorrow that you would like to share with the community on the index cards that are found in your pews, and you could put them in the offering plate as they go by, or you could post it on our Joys and Sorrows board yourself after worship. So, for the continuing work of this congregation, we take the morning's offering. Virginia by John Brown and 21 other men. You'll be familiar with John Brown's name from John Brown's Body Lies a Moldering in the Grave. So he's presumably all molded out by now. But I thought I would take the opportunity to talk a little bit about the raid. I don't want to go into the details of the event itself, but to reflect a little bit on its meaning and on the relationship of some of our great Unitarian forebears to that event. As I say, he was a white man who led 21 other men, 16 of them white and 5 of them black, to raid an armory in Harpers Ferry, Virginia in 1859. The armory was a large complex of buildings that contained 100,000 muskets and rifles, which Brown planned to seize and to use to arm local slaves. They would then head south, drawing off more and more slaves from plantations. That was the plan. The hope was that they would fight only in self-defense. After an initial success, a train approached the town, and when the train's baggage master tried to warn the passengers of trouble, Brown's men opened fire against him. And this baggage master, as it happened, ironically, was a freed black man, and he became the first casualty of John Brown's war against slavery at Harpers Ferry. After the shooting, Brown allowed the train to continue on its way, and this has been described as inexplicable, but from what I read of Brown, it was most likely his efforts to do what was right, which was always his intention, by letting go people who he had no business keeping. But it was a foolish strategy, as the train went on, as did some other people he let go, and they allowed the word to spread to authorities of what was happening, allowing those authorities to gather themselves and to crush the uprising. 11 men died in the raid. And although the raid itself was not the most violent of insurrections, the personality of John Brown, the personalities of those who backed him, and the timing of the raid all came together to make it a signal event leading up to the Civil War. Now, in the first half of the 19th century, as the country was expanding, the argument over slavery was very much heating up. Each side was becoming more militant. The assumption of the slave-holding founding fathers 100 years earlier was that slavery was evil. Thomas Jefferson